I can't think of anything quirky to say. That's a first. Looks like I'm not YN after all. Hello there, my dreamers, believers, and adventure seekers. It has been a while since I've sat on the floor to complain. It's good to be back. I don't know if you could tell by the way I'm dressed right now, but if you haven't used your context clues yet, you might want to and determine based off of the way I'm dressed what today's video is gonna be about. Once again, I am channeling my inner Jenny Nicholson, and honestly, I don't know how she does this every time because this was a pain to put together. I'm supposed to be Stella. A modernized version, I guess. I don't know. Also, I want to point out, if it doesn't look like I'm making eye contact, I can't see. I can't see. I don't have my glasses on. They're down here, so if I ever need to, I could, but I look stupid. So I was gonna talk about it, so here I am. I'm gonna talk about the Winx Club live action, Fate. It's a Netflix series special thing. I don't know, there's like 6 episodes, they're each like an hour long. I breezed through it in like a day, and honestly, it was not worth my time. I apologize for any screaming that might occur. Not from me. I mean, I always apologize for that, but like in the background, my sister and her bestie are here, and yeah, when they're together, it's chaos. Originally, I had wanted to go into this just spouting my grievances, but then I decided no. I need to make a list because there's a lot I gotta say. Right off the bat, because I know that this is like the biggest issue that a lot of people have with the show, is how it's an adaptation of the Winx Club. And so the first thing people do generally is they compare this live action show to the OG cartoon show. So I'm just gonna get that out of the way because I know that that's what a lot of people think of when they go into saying, oh my gosh, I hated the live action Winx Club. So aside from that, I have some actual complaints within the show itself that I do want to touch upon. But just to get the first thing out of the way, let's talk about how this show is nothing like the original Winx Club. The biggest thing that a lot of people were upset about, yours truly included, was the whitewashing of Flora and Musa. In the original Winx Club, you have, I think there were 6 girls. There was Bloom, Stella, Tekna, Musa, Flora, and Aisha slash Layla. Yeah, so yeah, there's like 6 girls. And when you meet them, Musa is Asian, and then Flora, fans identified her as Latina, and I believe that Flora's character design was also based off of Jennifer Lopez, who is a woman of color. So, in the live action show, Musa is not Asian. If she is Asian, well, what is she actually? Let me, just to be sure. I probably should have done my research prior. What do you mean? What do you mean? My Face ID doesn't recognize me. Okay, so allegedly the actress who plays Musa is white passing. Some sources say she's part Singaporean, which is, you know, in Asia. But like, I feel like,
hi, how's it going? Not even 5 minutes in and we've already got the disembodied voice, but I realized that while editing this point, I was trying to make it probably come off as insensitive. And I know that it wasn't. I'm just really bad at explaining my thoughts, and I just figured let me try to be more eloquent here. So the point I'm trying to make with Musa's character is the confusing nature of the fact that she's white passing. Like, I don't know if the actress is Singaporean or not. I don't know. It's none of my business. The whole subject of white passing is a very difficult thing to explain because, first of all, I'm not Asian, so I can't really speak for the Asian community and say that it wasn't the right choice for this girl who is white passing if she potentially is Asian to get the role of a character who is explicitly Asian, who reportedly was based off of Lucy Liu, who is an Asian American. She's a Chinese American woman. That's not my place to say, and I'm not gonna say that. I'm not hating on the actress. She was just trying to get a paycheck, to be honest. Who knows? Maybe she didn't even know what the frick the Winx Club was, and she just got the role. It was like, all right, bet. Again, I don't know. But I just wanted to point out that I think when it comes to media, if there is a character that explicitly is written and looks a specific way, I think it's best if you stick to that character design. So people who look that way can see themselves on screen and see themselves as the hero, because white people have always had their stories, lighter skinned people have always had their stories. So it's like, why can't people of color who don't fit the normative get their stories as well, if that makes sense? I don't know. I hope this makes sense. I'm not trying to be ignorant or malicious, so if I say something that doesn't sound right, please by all means correct me in the comments, because I'm always trying to educate myself and I'm trying to speak better because I know how to use words, but oftentimes not correctly. That's the point I wanted to make with my frustration with the casting and the whitewashing of Musa. Now let's get on to Flora. I'm sorry, I mean Tara. Oh my gosh.
In the OG show, her name was Flora. In this show, her name's Tara, and she's obviously white. The only twist is that she's not skinny. She's a little bit on the thicker side, which is all right, great. We love body positivity, but you couldn't have made her Latina? I don't know. You couldn't make her a brown plus size girl? Like, why? I don't know, but that's like the biggest thing that a lot of people have issue with, and like obviously right so. Like, there's so much whitewashing in this world, and it's like, white people will always have a place in media. White people will always have a place on the stage. But for people of color, it's 20 times harder for them to get there still to this date. Like, we've progressed a lot compared to maybe like, I don't know, 550 years ago, but we still have a long way to go. And it's just like, if you have a character who explicitly is a minority, why not cast someone who is of that minority to give that diverse representation? Like, diversity is so important to me as an individual, and seeing like people of color on stage and portray good, well-written characters, just characters in general. Like, anyways, there's that. There's no Tekna. There's no Tekna. She's not here, which is funny to me because in the original show, she's the one character that's actually British. In this live action remake, it's set in, I don't know, English country. Everyone except Bloom has an English accent. So it's like, how you want to take the one actual British character and not have her here? What? So in the original show, there were 3 schools. There was Althea, which is the school for fairies. There was the witches school, which I don't remember what it's called, but there was a witch school. And then there was the hero academy for boys. So there were like the 3 separate schools for the different types of teenager hero thing. In the show, Althea is co-ed. So this is a major thing. There's no wings, there's no transformation sequences, but we will get into that much later.
Also, they didn't have Kiko. Kiko! How the frick are you gonna have this show without this idiot? What? Justice for Kiko 2021.
Finally, none of the characters are like their cartoon counterparts. They are so mean. Oh my gosh. Which again, we'll get into more later. I get that the original cartoon show is like directed at kids, so obviously you're gonna have good, fun life characters. But like, even so, these characters, like, they had their ups and downs, their negatives, their positives, blah, blah, blah. Like, Riven in the OG show was a complete jerk, and he's still in this show. At least they get that right. But there was also some things where characters got upset. There was a whole season where Bloom went dark, and that was a whole thing. I don't remember much of the Winx Club because it's been years since I watched the original show, but I do remember like them having to go through trials and them getting upset with each other and them going through ish because that's what friends go through. But at the end of the day, they were kind and they loved each other and they were good friends. But in this show, everyone's just mean for no reason. So those are the big contrasts I found when comparing the 2 shows, the cartoon versus the live action. So with that being said, let's get into my grievances with the actual live action show because, oh honey, do I got a lot to say. The writing is so bad. Oh my gosh. Literally, when I was watching the first episode, I was so bothered. Oh my gosh. It was like I was reading a Wattpad story. Like, I'm not an accomplished writer in the slightest, but I've read enough to know what good writing is and what bad writing is. And the first episode was just a mess. Like, it opens up with your typical nondescript background character who dies for the sake of pointing out, yo, there's some evil in the world. Tried and true, done and told, la la la. And then it cuts immediately to the first day of the school. And this was so confusing because it pans to Bloom, who's like out on the field and there's like tons of kids everywhere just walking around, just talking to each other, blah, blah, blah. And she's just looking around, minding her own business. And all of a sudden Sky comes up to her and he's just like, hey, you lost baby girl. He didn't say that, but if he did, oh my gosh, I would have lost it. I would have clicked out of there right then and there. But like, he comes up to her and starts, you know, helping her figure out her way because apparently she was at the wrong end of the school. But like, how the frick are we supposed to know that? It looked like she was just confused on what to do. It didn't seem like she was in the wrong place. I don't know. That could have been done a lot better in my opinion. And the entire time Sky's trying to help her and it's like being all flirty or whatever, she's like being such a brat and she's like just being unnecessarily rude. Like, is that flirting? Is that what you do? Is that how you? He's trying to help her in like explain the layout of the school because I'm assuming he's like a second year because she's like a first year. And she's like, I don't need you to mansplain where I'm at. And I'm like, that's Do you know what that term, oh my gosh. Nothing bothers me more than somebody hears one word for the first time and uses it for every occasion, even if it's in the wrong context, or doesn't even understand what that context is for. That whole scene was just awkward, and it was just very clumsy writing, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it. And the entire time, it's just these teens just being so moody, so angsty. It's like they don't want to be here. It's like, then why did you come to this school? We get to meet the girls or whatever because they're all staying together, and I can't even remember what the show was about. Like, I don't know if my brain blocked it out of my memory or if it was just that irrelevant that I forgot. But either way, this is gonna be a mess of a retelling for me. Near the end of the episode, once Bloom goes out into the woods past the barrier where she's most vulnerable to being attacked by monsters, insert a lightning thief musical joke here, she goes to work on her powers and she's able to harness it, but she can't control it, and then Aisha is there and she's like, oh, let me stop your fire with my water, ah! And then it cuts back to the school and Bloom's like opening up to a little bit to Aisha, and Aisha's just like, yo, what if you're a changeling? Sorry, what? Like, it's just so out of the blue. And it's just like, the pacing is so odd to me. And I don't know if it's just because this is like a 6-episode season, and so they tried to get everything out there, because I know a lot of the times an issue that a lot of shows have is like, they don't know if they're gonna get another season. So what they do is that they try to put everything they can in the first season because they might not get another one. If they don't get another one, then they're gonna leave their season on a cliffhanger. Personally, I'd rather you just leave it on a cliffhanger and let your fans decide what's going on, and maybe with enough push comes to shove, you get your next reboot, you get your next season. But like, I understand why, but at the same time, it's like, ugh. It is what it is. I just didn't like that whole changeling thing. I thought that was like way too soon to like bring it to like, oh, Bloom, what if you're actually this? But like, it wasn't relevant anyways. Like, throughout the entire show, they never can allude to anything. Like, they're just constantly holding your hand saying, this is what's happening, this is what's going on. Like I said earlier, everyone in this show is so mean. Bloom is just a brat to everyone, and she kind of calls that out on herself at the end of the show, which is like, great, I'm glad you learned that. But there's just some things that she does that's like not necessary. And it's just like, why? Stella? Oh my gosh. Stella is ridiculously mean. Like, she's just awful. I really hated what they did to Stella's character, because in the OG show, Stella was very bubbly, very, you know, haha, led. She was just very fun to be around. But in this show, she is like the evil queen bee to the max. Just the way that she treats certain characters, like the way that she is to Bloom, and like her jealousy for Bloom and Sky's like relationship, which like that whole love thing was not, why did you need to make that triangle V, whatever? That was not necessary. Nobody asked for that. She's also very mean to Tara for no reason, and it's supposed to be cute when like the gang gets back together. And that part itself didn't make sense to me, because there's a point where Stella's mom comes to the school to let everyone know and be like, yeah, the burn ones are on, they're popping, but like, don't be worried, y'all, or whatever. And the mom's not satisfied with Stella's rehab from when she blinded her friend and like was supposed to gain control of her powers or whatever, so she pulls her out of the school. And apparently the friends were heartbroken, which like, first of all, did not portray in your acting or in your reaction whatsoever. I'm just like, why do y'all care that she's gone? She was so mean to y'all. She was so rude. Like, she was your friend? You guys were all literally awful to each other. What? I didn't care that she left. And honestly, it didn't seem like the characters cared. But like, the whole thing was that Stella was still there. She ran away from home and like turned herself invisible and blah, blah, blah. But it's just like, the justification they had for her being awful was because her mother only saw power as important and like strength is what mattered, and you could not show any weakness. So the reason is because of her poor parenting. Like, her mom is awful, thus Stella's awful. The transitive property, I guess. Which in my mind, it's like, all right, sure, she can kind of have that tragic trauma or whatever, but like, that might explain her actions, but that doesn't justify it. Like, sure, in the original show, Stella definitely thought she was superior to others, but she was still kind. Like, she was compassionate, she was caring, she loved her friends. Like, when she meets Bloom and when she finds out like, whoa, Bloom, you've got power, she's elated. She wants to bring Bloom to the fairy world. It's like, you still could have kept her that Valley Girl bubbly self, and maybe like any anytime she saw her mom, she got cold, or like there was a bliss change. Like maybe Althea was a safe haven for her because she got away from her mom and she could be her free, happy self. Why is that so difficult? Because then maybe I would have cared that Stella was gone, that like she had to leave, but no, she was a B to the arch, so like I didn't care at all. I don't know. I need to move on. I'm gonna talk about that forever. Musa was just, oh my gosh, she was so angsty for no reason. Like in the original show, Musa was a music fairy, so like she was all things music, all things sound, the vibes immaculate. In the live action, she's a mind fairy, specifically an empath. She can feel everyone's emotions. She knows what's going on in their hearts, their minds. She knows what's up. And supposedly she can't turn it on and off, or she can. So, I don't know. This is a moving back with the writing. It's like they're never really cut and dry with the laws to their magic. I think Musa says that like she can feel everyone's emotions, why she has to like shut herself down and always has her headphones so she can focus on herself. But when she's with Sam, of course, it's fine because she doesn't get anything from him, and oh my gosh, which like, you know, would be kind of cute if I cared. Tara is supposed to be the lovable, talk a lot, quirky, you know, girl that no one likes because she's fat. She's not even that big. Whatever. There's a point, I think in the first episode actually, where she's talking about her family history, and legitimately so, she discusses how she has a cousin named Flora. Anyways, I know that some people actually did like Tara's character for the most part. I did not like her. I didn't like anyone, but I really did not like her. Like, I know I'm supposed to feel bad because everyone bullies her, but at the same time, she's just as bad as the other people. Like, there's like multiple points within the show when like Tara finally finds out why Musa doesn't like talking to people, or why she won't open up to Tara, because Tara tends to talk a lot and she feels a lot, and like Musa has to deal with that. And once like Musa tells her, yeah, it's because I'm an empath and I feel everyone's emotions, I know what's going on and like they're like what they're feeling or whatever, Tara almost at any given point is always like, oh my gosh, what are they feeling? Hey, can you tell me what they're feeling? Like what's going on in that sudden? It's like, first of all, that's none of your business. To me, I just felt like, you know, that like it bothers Musa. Like Musa made a point to say how like it's too much for her to handle at times, and she doesn't like feeling other people's emotions and not her own. So it's like, why on earth would you use your friend that you know and who has said to you that like this is not a thing that you like? Like I don't think that made any sense at all. But I just did not like Tara. I didn't feel bad for her. Like I did to some degree, but like half the time these bullies were like really bad bullies. Like, I don't know, they were just really cheesy or whatever. And it's just like, honestly, just do not give them the time of day. And I just did not get her motivations to want to be popular, to like want to be seen, because it's like, I don't know. I don't care. And then we have Aisha. Honestly, she was kind of a letdown. She has literally no arc. Like, she kind of had an arc, but it was the stupidest whatever. Like, in the beginning of the show, she's trying her best to befriend Bloom and trying to help Bloom and figure out, like, Bloom's trying to figure out who she is or whatever. And there's a point where, like, Bloom's, like, really nasty to Aisha, but then Aisha, like, saves her from the burn one, so then Bloom's like, oh my gosh, maybe I should be her friend. And starts, like, opening up, and, like, it's nice, because, like, okay, they're becoming friends, whatever, this is good. I'm liking this. But there's a point in the magic class where Aisha tries to pull a single droplet from the bowl, but it doesn't work, and the water ends up splashing everywhere. But like Bloom was able to set her little Kindle thing on fire, but not even. She wasn't able to separate the flames, and Aisha's jealous of that, and I'm just like, what? And from that point on, Aisha is like rude to Bloom and is not kind to her anymore, and it's just jealous. I'm like, what are you jealous of? You're technically the more accomplished fairy here because you have control over your powers. Like, maybe you just had a little blip in the system, but for the most part, you're pretty skilled, sis. And then from that point on, they just kind of made her this like brown nose or goody two shoes that everyone hated, even though she kind of did the right thing. There's a point where like when Stella comes back and is like revealed, hey, I was here the whole time, I never left. Stella is like, yo, let's go down into like the end to find out what Beatrix wants, and like let's release Rosalind, because that's a smart thing to do. It wasn't. Aisha then goes and tells the adults stop them, but like not really. But like it was the right thing to do, because these are just kids who think they know everything, which I guess that's the most realistic thing that they put in this show. We all think we know what we're doing in our youth. Spoiler alert, we don't. And then like they're mad at her for that, and then at the end, like when Bloom goes to fight the burn ones, apparently being near Bloom, she was able to help Bloom charge her power. Not explained whatsoever. For a school that's all about learning magic, y'all don't really learn magic. The entire time, I'm just like, don't y'all have class? The faculty for this school makes up 3 people, and the headmistress is one of them. Now, I'm not a fairy, despite what my wings might portray. But whenever they did have their classes, and whenever like the headmistress, because they don't have any other teachers apparently on their payroll, would teach the class, which was always like 6 students, even though the student body was like millions of kids. If you have that many limited teachers, shouldn't your classes be bigger so they can all get the message? I don't know. The magic teaching was so vague. Like the way that like she would explain how to control your powers and how to use it was just the most like, it's like they went to a thesaurus and just grabbed random synonyms and added them together to say, yes, this sounds fanciful, this sounds mystical, they're not gonna understand it, but it's gonna make sense to the character. There's like no point throughout them teaching the kids how to do magic that we see growth from their magic abilities. Like in the OG show, there were more episodes, but Bloom is able to control her power, able to open her Winx. That's a big point in like the early season in which she's able to like turn on her Winx, which is her transformation ability, and then harness her full power as like the fairy of the dragon flame. And we're able to see Bloom grow into this powerful fairy. However, honestly, I could not tell you if Bloom had any sort of growth within her powers, because it's all just kind of the same. It's very stagnant. Like in the beginning, she's apparently supposed to have no control of her powers, and they're all based off of emotion. Positive emotions, actually. I have to think happy thoughts, which is very the force of you, I guess. I'm too apathetic for this. I don't know. I just felt like the way that they like taught the students could have been more explicit and clear, because like they just kind of said big words that are typically mystical in a sense and just said, yeah, now you know how to do magic. And then like at the end of the series, when they bring back Rosalind, who is apparently the woman who sent Bloom away to her adoptive family, but like Bloom didn't know she was adopted. Apparently in that 5 minutes of Bloom meeting Rosalind, Rosalind was able to teach Bloom how to harness her true powers. You've been at this school for 3 months, you couldn't learn anything, but one conversation with this woman and suddenly you can channel all of your abilities. Sure.
Like, it would have been one thing if the reason why Bloom had no control over her powers, or she could not access her powers potential, was because when she was a baby, when Rosalind had taken her away and put her on Earth into her adoptive Earth family's life, she had done something to Bloom, and that's why Bloom had that memory of Rosalind saying, come find me, because Rosalind had did something to Bloom in which Bloom could not access her powers. And so the only way Bloom could access her powers and unleash her full potential was if she freed Rosalind and Rosalind undo the spell that she put on Bloom. Like, I think if that had been the whole point, that had been the reason why Bloom had to find Rosalind and unleash her, or like that, maybe that's how, I'm trying to like put some logic into this, but like the more I edit this video, the more I remember how much I genuinely don't care, because so much of this stuff in the show, like nothing really happened. Plot-wise, things just don't make sense, or things just kind of happen for the heck of it. I don't know, I just feel like if that had been the reason why, that would explain why Bloom, after 5 minutes of spending time with Rosalind, she was able to unleash her powers, because when she was with Rosalind undid the hex or whatever that she put on Bloom as a baby. Like, I don't know, I feel like that would have made more sense, because if you're gonna be at this magic school and you're not pertaining any logic, you either suck as a fairy or there's something wrong with you. But you know what? Whatever. I digress.
So in the original cartoon, the biggest baddies of the show, the antagonists if you will, were the Tricks, Icy, Stormy, and Darcy. They were the baddest witches of the block. We don't have the Tricks, we have Beatrix. She's supposed to be our villain, and she's supposed to come off as like a teacher's pet and trying to know all the magic of Althea and wants to be close to the headmistress, but the headmistress is like rude about it. But the only reason why Beatrix is trying to get close to the headmistress is because the headmistress has a secret, and it's Rosalind down in the basement below, but we don't find out that till later. I don't know, she like kills this dude, and then she connects with Bloom a bit and like tells Bloom like, yeah, you were born from Asterdale. I was also from Asterdale too, and the faculty killed our town, so we should hate them. You should hate them. You should hate them. To be honest, I was really surprised they didn't pull some like, oh my gosh, Beatrix and Bloom are siblings. I swear if they get another season and that's the arc they pull, Apparently Rosalind found Beatrix as well and put her with another family that had magic, because I don't know. I just didn't really like how they revealed her as the villain at the beginning. I just kind of wish they kind of made it seem like, oh, who's the inside spy? Who's the person behind this? But like, again, the way that they had their antagonist written in the show, I don't know, it wasn't anything fantastic or whatever. Everything's just so confusing, which again, might be because of the writing. But like, I couldn't figure out if Rosalind was supposed to be the bad guy because it just was so confusing, because it's like she'd say one thing and we're supposed to be like, oh, she's manipulative, she gets everyone like that. It's like, well, can I see that? You're just telling me that she does, but I don't see that. Please show and do not tell. Thank you. No, she's clearly the bad guy because literally at the end of the finale, she snaps Sarah's neck, the headmaster's neck. I was just starting to like the headmaster. Honestly, the only thing I enjoyed in this show were the adults. I think they were the most interesting characters throughout this entire thing. And Sam too, but that's only because Jacob Dudman
plays him
and he's hella cute. So like at the end of the finale, we get to see the new villains of the school, and like it's not threatening anyway because I literally don't know any of these characters. The headmistress is dead, so Rosalind is now taking her place. Mr. Silva is under arrest because he attempted to kill Sky's dad. Sky's dad isn't dead, which is like, why did we need that twist? Like, I don't care about Sky's dad, but he's like back, and so he's gonna take Silva's place, I'm assuming, and now the queen's there, and the queen hated the headmistress because she didn't teach her daughter right. I'm just like, why are you so invested in a high school? Don't you have a country to run? Near the finale, Dane apparently is enamored with Beatrix. Like, he literally says that like she's the only one who saw him for what he is, which is like, you literally were friends with Tara. Like, you got in a fight and that's it. Now you're not friends anymore. Like, you're not gonna talk it out, like whatever. But like, I never got that sense. I never saw how Beatrice was able to pull Dane to her side. Like, anytime Beatrice was around Dane was when Riven was there. But, like, I didn't get why he was so obsessed with bringing Beatrix back to life. Like, she wasn't dead, but she was like unconscious. But I didn't understand why he was trying so hard to like bring her back into the awakening. I just was so confused, and I don't know why he's now a bad guy. I just was like, I thought you hated them. Why? Like, peer pressure? Is that what this is?
Not to mention, they took one of the few diverse characters and turned the black man, who allegedly is of the LGBTQ, into a villain. Wow.
So the things that bothered me. Well, first thing was the toxic parents. Oh my gosh. One of you guys on Twitter had pointed out that apparently this scene got totally pushed aside, which I was like, no, that triggered me. What? When Bloom is explaining to Aisha why she's there, why she desperately wants to get control of her powers, she explains how, like, back home, her parents took down her door. And the reason why they were taking down her door is because they wanted her to be open, which, like, I know this is a thing parents do, is they'll take down their kid's door, which that always never sat right with me, because maybe give your kids some respect and respect their privacy. Like, they don't hate you, they just want to be alone. Generally, when parents decide to take down your door, it's usually because the kid's been acting up. But apparently, the reason why they decided to take down her door was because she wasn't opening up to her parents. She wasn't talking to them. She wasn't being, if you will. Apparently, Bloom is quirky in a sense where she likes to collect vintage things, antiques, and she likes to keep to herself. She's very much said a loner, and her parents apparently didn't like that, especially her mom. Her mom wanted her to be this, woo, yeah, get it, oh my gosh, kind of girl, but Bloom wasn't like that. She's not like other girls. And so because of this, her parents decided to take down her door. They saw it as disobedience that she wasn't talking to them, she wasn't being very open with them, that she didn't deserve her privacy, which is like, what? I feel like if you're gonna discipline your kid, it's because you're trying to show them the consequences for their actions, in which they did something terrible or they misbehaved, or they're just being a horrible person, and you're trying to teach them right. But if your kid is not doing anything wrong, they're just vibing in their own little world, and you're upset that they're not including you, like, maybe ask why they're not including you. Maybe ask what's going on, or like give them some respect to their space and be like, hey, I'm here. If you ever want to talk, if you ever want to like open up a bit, I'm on your side. I just want to know that you're okay. Like, why? I've seen this so many times in my personal life where parents get so upset when their kids are not adhering to this idea in their head of what their kids should be like. It's like, oh my gosh, why be a parent if you're not going to be a parent. This whole scene was just, it was like I said, it was triggering me, like, because it was just so toxic. And the way that they were treating Bloom and the way Bloom was treating her parents, and Bloom was just so angry with her parents that she decided to set them on fire. She gave her mom 3rd-degree burns and she feels really bad about it. And I know this is gonna sound really bad to say, but like, I really didn't feel bad for the mom that she had those burns, because to me, she seemed very awful in that flashback. Like the way that she was treating Bloom, I was like, you kind of suck. So I don't feel bad. I know that's really awful to say, but I didn't feel bad for her. And I know that Bloom felt horrible. And I don't know if that's just because she's very compassionate, even though she really doesn't seem her, like she felt really bad. I don't know. I just didn't get that sense because I did not like Bloom's character. She just didn't seem like she cared about anything or anyone. She was pretty selfish the majority of the time. I don't know. I feel like I need to stop talking before I get canceled. The glorification of sex, drugs, and alcohol. I understand that these are vices. These are things that exist within our reality that a lot of people use or do within their lifetime. Some don't, some do. I understand that. But there's so many times where these teens are like, I cannot wait to do all of this and this, which is just like, aren't you like 15? I don't know if it's just because the older I get, the more of a mom mindset I attain, but I feel like these types of things, sex, drug, and alcohol, should be used and treated with caution, because too much of it can get out of hand and completely destroy you, can take over your life. And I just feel like we shouldn't really glorify these things that, like, one wrong step and you might be dependent on this thing and you might not be able to function without it, and it's bad, and I don't know, but like, why do we don't need Was the homophobia really necessary? No, that's a trick question. It really was not. There's so many points throughout the show that Riven makes these offhanded comments of like, yo, dude, are you gay? He's gay, right? You're gay, you're gay. Like, obviously you're gay, but like, are you gay? It's like, even if he was, what does it matter? Even if Dane is gay, wherever he is in the LGBT spectrum, it's none of your business. If he wants to come out, then let him do that on his own time, because I know I really have no place to say anything about the LGBTQ because I am not of the LGBTQ, but I know that coming out is a very important thing for them. Coming out is still a very vulnerable process for them, and so for you to just be like, oh yeah, you're gay, right? Like, one of the biggest things I hate within characters that like are diverse revs, whether it's ethnicity or sexuality, is when their diversity is their whole point of their character, and that's what a lot of things like to make it up. Like, I hate it when characters only exist because they need a black character or they need a gay character. It's just like, why can't they just exist because they exist? Because people exist. Why? Riven especially would always bring this up, and it just made me feel like, are you trying to have this arc where the bully is secretly gay and isn't like, what? Like, I thought we were done with that trope. I don't know. I could be wrong in my statement. Like I said, I'm not a part of the community, so I can't really say what is and what is homophobic, but to me, it kind of was. I don't know. I don't know. Please don't cancel me. Oh my gosh, the transformation sequence. I lost it. In the beginning of the show, like when Bloom is at the headmistress' office and she's talking with the teacher being like, thanks for bringing me to Althea. I really appreciate it. I really want to get better at my powers. And the headmistress is like, yeah, whatever. The headmistress makes a point to say that even though they're fairies, they have no wings. They lost their wings. It's ancient magic that hasn't been seen for in years. They've also apparently evolved past the need for transformation magic. Okay. In the finale, Bloom figures out somehow that the burned ones are after her. Because of Rosalind, they've been able to pass the barrier and get on the school grounds because they're after Bloom, because they know that she's the only thing that can stop them. So, in order to stop them, she realizes that from her training with Rosalind, that she has to reach her full power to defeat them. And how does she do this? How does she gain her full power? She has a transformation where she doesn't transform at all. Like, dude, literally, I lost it. It was so funny because, like, Aisha pulled this wall of water, horrible CGI, and Bloom is, like, rising, and, like, these flames are going around her pants, around her arms, that you think, oh my gosh, there's a transformation scene going on. Like, this is point blank period, your typical magical girl transformation. Like, look any anime magical girl scene, and you could see the similarities. You can see the buildup, the foundation for a magical girl transformation. Does that happen, though? Absolutely not. The only thing that occurs from this transformation are these poorly flaming fairy wings. Why didn't you just get her a glittery outfit along with that? What do you have against glitter? What do you have against bright colors and lights? I lost it when she transformed into nothing. Honestly, the whole thing, dude. This thing, I know I'm being very lackluster in my opinions, but like legitimately, I do not care about this show. Like nothing within the show happened that made me care for the characters or their circumstances. Like I just did not have that connection to them. And I honestly, I tried to go in with an open mind because I knew that it was not gonna be like anything like the original Winx Club. And because of that, I was like, all right, let me give this a chance. But because it was just so poorly written and the characters were just unlikable, I just did not care about anything that was going on. I feel like if they hadn't attached the whole Winx Club element to the show, this would have been a very adequate show to watch when you're bored. Maybe I would not be as irate. Like I would still be annoyed with the writing or whatever if they had kept it the same, because it's like, that doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? But like, I'm especially more irate because of the potential that was lost from this. Like there's so many elements from the original cartoon show that you could have carried within this new live action remake and still kept it a little edgy, still kept it a little dark, made it a little serious, but still had those elements from the original show. Like it's not that hard to have a cast of characters that are nice to each other and grow as friends and have this bond of friendship that's able to help them fight and work together to save the day. Because like at the end of the show, Bloom goes back home to California to explain to her mom and dad that like, yeah, I'm actually not your daughter. And her parents are chill with that. But there's a scene where all the girls are at the dinner table and they're just laughing. They're having a great time. They're just squad goals. But it's like, y'all literally hate each other like 5 minutes ago. What? And then it cuts to them walking back on campus, giggling and laughing, ready to face on this new threat at Ophia. It's like, what? I don't know. It just was an emotional waste of time in my opinion. I feel like generally a lot of people didn't like the show. I could be wrong, but whatever. I feel like it's not even worth it to hate watch it, which I feel like is what a lot of people are doing, but just, I don't know, there's really nothing of substance there for me personally. Like maybe you could watch it and really enjoy it, but for me, I like detailed writing. I like seeing character growth. I like seeing good developmental arcs. I like good aesthetics. I like plausible plots. And I like things to be cohesive and make sense. And there's just a lot of things that just were kind of just, it just seemed like they just threw it together and like, yes. And also there was barely any magic. Like honestly, they used their cell phones more in this show than they used their magic. So much for closing your eyes and opening your heart and believing yourself, because that's where it starts. Dreams were supposed to come true. You were just supposed to wait and see, because the magic was supposed to be in you and it was supposed to be in me. Slam poetry, what? So yeah, that's my incoherent rant of Fate, the Winx Saga, aka the live action Winx Club. I hope you enjoyed it. There's probably other better videos out there that make a lot more sense than this one. I just am really exhausted and this has taken me a while to film because even my camera was having a fit. McAllister was like, nah, I don't want to hear this ish. So I'm off. I've got places to go, people, new worlds to conquer. Until next time, from always Nadia. Okay, bye.